Have you ever been in that situation, maybe at a party or meeting someone new, and you really want to say the right thing, the polite thing?
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe offer someone a crisp or ask a quick question, or even just get off the phone without sounding abrupt. But the words just evaporate. It's like your mind just goes completely blank.
Yeah, that feeling. And you're left wondering, did I just sound really awkward? Or worse, maybe even a bit rude without meaning to.
Exactly. That struggle, wanting to connect, make a good impression, but feeling tangled up in the unspoken rules of polite English conversation. I think we've all been there.
It's a common experience, for sure.
So let's unpack this today. Our deep dive is all about mastering, or at least getting much better at, the art of polite English conversation.
Okay.
We're going to really dig into a fantastic resource that honestly looks like it could shortcut your path to feeling more confident in all sorts of social situations. From offering someone a bit of your sandwich to handling those sometimes tricky introductions, right up to ending a phone call smoothly.
Yeah, those everyday moments.
It's really not just about memorizing phrases, is it? It's more about turning that hesitation into, well, a smooth interaction.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is just how much nuance there is in these everyday exchanges. Stuff we often don't even consciously think about.
Right.
So the main source we're looking at today is from a YouTube transcript. It's called Speak Polite Advanced English by English with Kayla.
Okay.
And it's incredibly practical. It's packed not just with phrases you can use right away, but also some really insightful cultural context.
That's crucial.
Exactly. It helps you understand not just what to say, but kind of why certain phrases work better and how using them thoughtfully can help you make, real, genuine connections. It's digging into that subtle social intelligence behind it all.
And for you listening in this deep dive, well, it's about so much more than just learning new words. It's really about empowering you to make those great first impressions, build real rapport, and just handle those tricky social moments with a bit more ease. Effortlessly, maybe.
Yeah, to feel more comfortable.
You'll discover how choosing the right words and saying them with that bit of confidence and understanding can make a huge difference, not just for how you feel, but also making others feel, genuinely seen and respected.
That's a great point.
So get ready for hopefully a few aha moments that might just change how you approach your next conversation, turning it into a chance to connect more deeply.
Okay, let's kick off with something really fundamental. Maybe the bedrock of connection and hospitality. Just that simple but really important exchange of offering something. And just as vital, knowing how to accept or decline gracefully. So many interactions start right here.
They really do.
So imagine you're eating with a friend, right? And maybe you notice their eyes kind of drifting towards that amazing cake on your plate.
Happens all the time.
You see that little hint, that unspoken thought. That's the perfect moment for a really simple, warm, polite phrase. Do you want a bite?
Yeah. It's ideal when you're sharing food with people you know well, friends, family, close colleagues maybe. It's less formal. More like saying, hey, I'm happy to share this. It's good.
Right. It's inviting.
It really is. It just sets a relaxed, inclusive, generous tone right away. A real cornerstone of casual social eating.
And building on that, the actual words you choose when offering food or drink, well, they go beyond just grammar, don't they? It's about the subtext.
How it's perceived.
Exactly. How your generosity comes across. So, do you want a bite? Is great for a little piece of your food. But the source highlights other key phrases for bigger offers.
Okay.
Like the difference between can I get you one and can I get you some?
Okay, I see where you're going.
Right. If you're offering something individual, countable, like a biscuit or a can of drink, can I get you one, is precise, it's polite. You're offering a single item.
A specific thing.
But if you're talking about a bigger shared dish, maybe a big bowl of pasta salad or a jug of juice or a plate of nachos, the most polite offer is, can I get you some?
Some implies more. Sharing.
Exactly. It's not just about the item itself. Some suggests a shared abundance, a willingness to give a decent portion from that communal source, that tiny word choice. It really changes how your generosity feels. It reinforces that warmth.
That one versus some distinction is really sharp. It shows how politeness is woven into these tiny choices.
It really does.
And when it's about drinks specifically, our source points out two really common ways to politely offer.
Okay.
First, straightforward one everyone knows. What can I get you to drink? It's versatile, pretty casual. Ask for a direct request.
Standard.
Then there's the slightly more formal version. Would you like a beverage? Now, beverage sounds a little formal, maybe.
A little bit. Yeah.
But culturally, what's interesting is that even though it sounds slightly formal, it's totally okay for somebody to reply, just water, thanks. That's not seen as rude.
Good to know.
And it's so common, certainly in the U.S. and many other places, to offer a guest a drink almost the moment they walk in your door.
It's that immediate hospitality.
Exactly. It just instantly sets a welcoming tone, makes them feel comfortable, looked after, and at ease right away.
And sticking with that theme of being an attentive host, sometimes you have someone over or you're out with them, and maybe you haven't planned a meal, but you get a sense they might be peckish.
Right, or you're about to eat yourself.
Precisely. And you want to include them without making them feel obligated. The direct question, are you hungry, can sometimes feel a bit blunt.
Yeah, it puts them on the spot.
It can. They might feel they have to say yes, even if they're not. So a really common, polite, and sort of indirect way to check is to ask, have you eaten?
Ah, interesting. Less direct.
Much less direct. It shows genuine concern, like, are you okay? Have you had food? Or should we think about getting something?
So both work. Are you hungry? And have you eaten?
Yeah, both are popular and totally understood. But have you eaten often feels a bit softer. It avoids that potential awkwardness of someone feeling they must accept food they don't really want or need.
It's offering consideration, not demanding a decision.
Yep. Spot on. Opening a door rather than pointing a finger.
So once you've enjoyed the food or the hospitality, saying thank you seems obvious, but doing it specifically and sincerely, that makes a real impact.
It absolutely does.
It's not just a mumbled thanks. Our source really hammers home the power of being specific.
Okay, like how?
Well, when a meal's finished, instead of just a general thanks, you can say, thanks for breakfast, or thanks for lunch, or thanks for dinner.
Got it. Naming the meal.
Yeah. Or if you just met up for coffee at their place, a simple, warm, thanks for coffee is perfect. That specificity, it just lifts the gratitude, makes it feel less like a formality and more like genuine personal appreciation.
Right. It shows you actually registered what they did for you.
Exactly. It makes the thank you hit harder, really cements that positive feeling.
And when you want to compliment the person who cooked or the food itself, the source gives us some great options, from basic to more detailed praise.
Always good to have options.
Definitely. A simple but always welcome compliment is, the food is delicious. Now, it might sound basic, but if you say it with real enthusiasm, genuine sincerity,
It works.
it absolutely works. Authenticity is everything with compliments, but to raise your compliment game, especially if they cooked a whole amazing meal or they're just a generally fantastic cook.
Yeah.
You could say, you are quite the chef, or you are quite the cook. Both work, and using quite the just means they do it exceptionally well.
Nice. Quite the cook. I like that.
But what's even more impactful often is getting really specific about a particular dish. Let's say they made amazing Swedish meatballs.
Okay.
You could say, you make a great Swedish meatball, or you made a fantastic lasagna. Praising the specific dish shows you really noticed that particular thing. You savored it.
Makes it more personal.
Way more personal and memorable. It acknowledges their skill with that specific creation, the effort they put into that.
I love that focus on specifics. It really is the secret sauce for genuine compliments, isn't it?
Totally is.
And it's not just about the food. Appreciating someone's home, their effort as a host, that's equally important.
Crucial.
Our source gives some lovely, warm ways to compliment someone's place. You can say, your home is beautiful. That's a great general one.
Always nice to hear.
Or, one I really like, your home is so cozy. Cozy implies more than just looks, right? It means you feel genuinely comfortable, relaxed, welcome there. That's a huge compliment to a host.
Yeah, it suggests they've created a real haven.
Exactly. And if they've just moved in or redecorated, a perfect phrase is, I love what you've done with the place. It acknowledges the effort, the personal touch, the change.
Shows you noticed.
Definitely. And if you want to be even more precise, I love your decor. That points to their specific taste. Like the example given, if your friend has amazing Chinese decor, you could say, I love your Chinese decor.
Makes it even more meaningful.
It really does. It shows you've truly seen and appreciated their unique style.
And then, of course, beyond the compliments about the space or the food, just acknowledging the act of hosting itself is so important.
Right, because it is effort.
It really is. Phrases like, thanks for hosting are super polite, very common, and pretty essential after you've been to a party or some kind of event. It recognizes the work, the planning, the generosity involved.
And for longer stays.
Good question. If you've stayed with someone, maybe for a few days or a week, The right phrase, and one that's really valued, is "Thanks for hosting me." That acknowledges the sustained hospitality.
Makes sense.
And thinking about why acknowledging hosting is so valued, it's more than just manners, isn't it? It recognizes the time, the energy, often the money someone puts into making others feel welcome and comfortable.
It's affirming their effort.
Exactly. It makes them feel seen and appreciated for that effort, which honestly really strengthens a relationship.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the delicate art of making requests and sometimes offering apologies.
Okay, essential skills.
Sometimes you just need someone's attention for a moment, right? Especially at work or in a busy shop, or even if a friend is just really focused on something, you don't want to just barge in.
No, definitely not.
Our source suggests a more formal, respectful way to get their attention is, could I have a moment of your time? It checks that they're actually free before you launch into your request.
Yeah.
Shows respect for their schedule.
That makes sense for formal settings. What about more casual?
Great question. There's a fantastic informal phrase, a real speech softener. Real quick.
Ah, yeah, I hear that all the time.
It's short for really quick. And starting your request or question with it just signals immediately, this won't take long, it's not a big deal.
Sets expectations.
Exactly. Like, hey, real quick, can you look this? Or real quick, could you pass me the salt? It's not grammatically essential, but it just feels more polite, less demanding, smooths the way in.
What's really insightful there is the social intelligence behind phrases like, I understand if you're busy, but...
Right, acknowledging their situation.
Exactly. It's not just softening the blow, it's proactively showing you're considerate, you respect their time. And this raises a good question. Why do we preface requests like that?
Good point.
It's about showing you're aware of their potential constraints, that you value their time. You're basically saying, look, I know you might be swamped, and I don't want to impose, but if you have a second...
Makes sense. It signals you're not just demanding their time.
Precisely. It sets that tone of mutual respect right from the start, which makes people much more willing to help because they don't feel like you're taking them for granted. It builds goodwill even before you ask.
And sometimes, even with the best intentions, you might end up asking a few too many questions or needing several favors.
Happens to the best of us.
That's where apologizing for the inconvenience comes in. Our source gives two great options. Sorry for the inconvenience is the more formal one. Good for work, customer service, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Then there's the more informal, sorry to bother you. You might use that with friends or family, or if you feel like you're asking for just one more thing.
Right.
And what's nice is how often people respond politely, right? They'll say, oh, it's no inconvenience or no trouble at all.
Yeah, that little back and forth of politeness.
Exactly. It shows you're mindful that you might be imposing, which is key to keeping things smooth and polite.
Now, asking for permission. If you need to borrow something or do something, the common polite phrases are, do you mind if I borrow this? Or do you mind if I do this?
Okay, do you mind that?
But here's where English politeness gets a bit tricky and interesting. Often, the expected polite answer, meaning, yes, go ahead, is actually, no, I don't mind.
Right. No means yes. A bit confusing.
It can be. And the source wisely points out that sometimes people might even say yes when they actually don't mind, or maybe they do mind but are trying to be polite about it.
So you have to read between the lines.
Pretty much. You need to pay close attention to their tone of voice, their expression, the whole context. Is it a bright, easy yes, of course, or a hesitant, drawn out yes?
Got it. Look beyond the word itself.
Exactly. It shows a subtle complexity. A very similar phrase is, would you care if I borrowed this? Or, if I did this? Both are polite ways to ask, but the main takeaway is, always be observant of those nonverbal cues to make sure your request is genuinely okay.
Okay, so you've made the request, or better yet, someone's done you a favor. That follow-up thank you is so important.
Absolutely, don't forget it.
Of course, thank you is fine, but to really sound sincere and maybe not so repetitive, you want to mix it up a bit.
Variety is good.
Our source suggests some warm, natural options. A very common one, especially if you've already said thanks but want to say it again as you're leaving or finishing up, is thanks again.
Simple, effective.
Yeah, and often the reply is no problem, or you're welcome, or don't mention it. Another one that really signals deeper appreciation is I really appreciate it.
Feels stronger than just thanks.
It does. It goes beyond basic politeness. It says you truly value their time or effort. Like if a friend spends ages helping you fix your computer, I really appreciate it, carries that weight.
And thinking bigger picture, phrases like thank you for your patience and thank you so much for your time are really critical, especially maybe in the US where that time is money idea is quite strong.
All right, valuing time.
Which leads to an interesting point. Why is it often considered polite to thank someone in advance for their patience or time? Like saying, this might take a moment, so thank you for your patience.
Yeah, why do we do that?
It's like a proactive show of respect. You're acknowledging up front that you know you might be causing a delay or taking up their valuable time. You're expressing gratitude before the cost is even fully paid, so to speak.
Sets a good tone.
Really does. It shows deep consideration and can smooth over situations that might otherwise get a bit tense or feel like an imposition.
That's a great insight about thanking in advance. Really sets a respectful mood. And what about when someone really helps you out? Like goes way beyond what you expected?
Yes. You need something stronger then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want your thanks to match that extra effort. Our source gives 2 excellent phrases. You've been such a help is a great general compliment. Highlights their helpfulness.
Nice and direct.
But for those times, they truly knock it out of the park. Unexpected extra effort. You can say, you've gone above and beyond.
Ooh, I like that one. Feels significant.
It does. Imagine that customer service person who not only fixes your problem, but finds you a discount you didn't know about. Or the friend who helps you move and stays hours late without complaining.
Oh, okay, yeah. Definitely above and beyond.
Right. It perfectly captures that exceptional effort, letting them know their extra work was truly seen and deeply valued.
And that whole social contract of helping each other out, of reciprocity, is reflected in how we talk about favors, too.
Right. The give and take.
The source mentions, thanks for following up. That's a polite, often professional phrase you use when someone checks back on something they helped you with before. Shows they're organized and diligent.
Acknowledges their thoroughness?
Yes. Exactly. Then, for returning favors, especially bigger ones, there's the very common informal, I owe you one.
Doesn't mean actual money, though.
No, definitely not. It just means, wow, you really helped me out, and I'm ready and willing to return the favor whenever you need it. It's friendly, shows deep gratitude, and signals that willingness to reciprocate.
In a more formal way.
In a more formal context, maybe work-related, you could say, I'm happy to return the favor anytime. It clearly states your willingness to help them in the future, reinforcing that mutual support idea.
Okay, now for the really interesting part, I think. Moving beyond just functional chat to actually building relationships.
Yeah, the connection piece.
How do you start a genuinely friendly conversation that isn't just, nice weather we're having?
It's a small talk challenge.
Right. Our source has some gems. If you know the person a bit, a really genuine, caring question is, how's your family doing? Shows you're interested in their personal life, not just work.
Adds a warm touch.
Definitely. For more general, less personal, but still friendly small talk, especially at work or casual events, any plans for the weekend is a classic.
Super common.
Yeah, low stakes, shows interest without prying. And if you've just met someone but want to keep the friendly vibe going, have you been busy lately? Shows interest in what they're generally up to.
Opens the door gently.
Exactly. These aren't just questions. They're like little invitations to connect on a more human level.
And when you're inviting someone somewhere, the specific words you choose can subtly convey how much you actually want them there.
Oh, interesting nuance.
The source highlights, I hope that you can make it. That's standard, polite, totally fine.
Okay.
But compare it to, I'd love to have you there. Can you feel the difference?
Yeah, I'd love to have you there. Feels warmer, more personal.
Exactly. It implies a stronger personal desire for their presence. It suggests their attendance would genuinely make the event better for you.
So it's not just an invitation, it's valuing their company.
Precisely. That slight shift carries a lot of weight in conveying genuine warmth and making the invitation feel more heartfelt and compelling. It hints at a deeper appreciation.
Building on that, making a strong first impression when you meet someone new is so important.
Crucial moments.
Our source talks about the idea of an elevator speech, not some stiff old-fashioned phrase like, pleased to make your acquaintance.
Ugh, no. Sounds robotic.
Totally. No, an elevator speech is your short, polished self-introduction. Something clear, confident you could deliver in a quick elevator ride. Memorable, positive.
Got it. Quick and punchy.
And here's a killer tip for making an even better first impression. Use the person's name right after they tell it to you.
Ah, the name trick.
Yes, instead of just nice to meet you, say it's nice to meet you, Kayla. They'll appreciate you got it straight away, and it actually helps you remember their name better.
Win-win.
Creates that instant personal connection that makes the whole interaction stick.
And to really make people feel like you're on their team, as the source puts it, drawing from that classic book, How to Talk to Anyone.
Okay.
The key is finding common ground. And subtle language shifts can do this almost subconsciously.
Like how?
Instead of asking maybe, what do you think about the company's new CEO? Which sounds a bit distant.
Yeah, like an outsider asking.
Right. Try, what do you think about our new CEO? Or instead of, did you hear about the new mall in town? Try, did you hear our city just got a new mall?
Using our
Yeah.
creates a shared identity.
Exactly. That little possessive pronoun subtly shifts things. It implies you're part of the same group, sharing the same experience or environment. It naturally builds this sense of unity, makes the other person feel more connected, understood. You're building that bond.
That our trick is really smart, simple, but effective. And speaking of connecting, another brilliant tip for winning over your conversation partner is basically get them talking about themselves.
People love talking about themselves.
Generally, yes, or at least about things they care about, their job, family, hobbies. It taps into that basic need to be heard and valued. Plus, it's good if you're feeling nervous or don't know what to say.
Takes the pressure off you.
Totally. The source suggests 4 key questions that encourage people to open up without it feeling like an interrogation. What's that like? Do you enjoy that? Is it difficult? And would you recommend that?
Okay, good practical questions.
Yeah. So if someone says they're a firefighter, you could ask, wow, what's that like? Or if they mention they just moved to a new city, do you enjoy living there? Or if they're describing a complex project, is that difficult?
Shows genuine interest.
It does.
Yeah.
Keeps the conversation flowing naturally, and most importantly, makes the other person feel valued and heard.
And this brings up something important about nonverbal communication. Even though this is audio, the source mentions things like body language.
Right, which obviously influences how we sound.
Absolutely. Concepts like the Superman-Superwoman stance, open posture, eye contact, project confidence that comes through in your voice, makes it sound clearer, more inviting.
Okay.
And mirroring, subtly mimicking someone's gestures or even their vocal tone creates rapport and comfort, which also affects your vocal delivery.
Makes you sound more engaged.
Exactly. They're universal politeness signals. When you feel confident and attentive physically, your voice naturally follows suit, more measured pace, more engaging tone. It helps those polite phrases land with real sincerity.
Okay, let's talk about seeing people you know but haven't seen for a bit. Those happy reunions.
Yeah.
English speakers, especially maybe Americans informally, often use a bit of hyperbole exaggeration to show strong positive emotion.
Right, like it's been forever.
Exactly. Instead of just, it's been a while, which is fine. You hear, I haven't seen you in forever, or it's been ages. Obviously not literally true, but it powerfully conveys how happy and excited you are to see them.
Adds warmth.
Loads of warmth. Emphasizes you miss them. And another super versatile phrase, good for greeting and saying goodbye, is, it's great to see you, or just great to see you.
Simple, direct, always nice.
Totally. Makes any reunion feel a bit more special.
Now, if you need to get someone's attention quickly, especially if they look busy, just launching in can feel rude.
Yeah, gotta ease in.
The source gives good, considerate options. Do you have a minute, or do you have a second? Even shorter and very common. Do you have a sec?
Okay.
The point isn't literally asking for 60 seconds. It's politely acknowledging they might be occupied and asking if they can spare just a tiny bit of time for you.
Shows respect for their time.
Exactly. That's why it's more polite than just starting your question. It gives them the choice, shows consideration, makes them more receptive.
It really is all about that consideration. And sometimes you're the one who's busy.
Yeah.
And you need to politely delay or even say no.
Right. The flip side.
If someone asks for help, but you're mid-task, a polite way to handle it is, give me just 1 minute or give me a sec. Tells them you will help, just need a moment. Shows willingness.
Buys you a little time.
Exactly. Now, actually saying no, declining help or an invitation, that can be tricky. But it can be done gracefully. The polite formula is often, I'd love to help come, but, followed by a genuine, brief reason.
Okay, and the love to but structure.
Yeah. I'd love to help, but I'm allergic to cats.
Yeah.
Or, I'd love to come, but I'm swamped with work. And even if you're not genuinely sorry you're busy, adding a little polite apology like, I'm so sorry, I just can't make it, softens the no.
Conveys regret even if the reason is valid.
Right. It preserves that goodwill, keeps the relationship smooth.
Okay, let's talk about friendly goodbyes. English has a whole range beyond just bye.
Definitely.
Our source mentions, same to you. Very common, efficient response if someone wishes you well, like, have a good weekend. Same to you. Quick, polite. Another hugely popular one, especially in the US, is have a good one. basically means have a good day, but one makes it super versatile, friendly for almost any casual parting.
You hear that all the time.
Yeah. More formally, have a great day. In the southern U.S., you might hear have a blessed day, which has that warm, wishing you well vibe.
Nice regional flavor.
Other common ones. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon. If you expect to reconnect, thanks for calling. Standard phone closing. Take it easy. Cool, relaxed vibe. Like, don't stress.
Oh yeah, take it easy.
Talk to you soon, or see you soon if you expect contact shortly. And keep in touch. More for people you see less often encourages future contact without firm plans.
Lots of options to match the situation.
Exactly. Tailor it to the relationship and context. Keep that warm connection going.
Okay, phone conversations. They have their own world of politeness, don't they?
They really do. Unique challenges.
It's like bad connections. We've all been there. The source gives us some quick fixes. First, to check they can hear you. Can you hear me?
Simple.
Essential check. If you can't understand them well, you're breaking up. Means their voice is cutting out.
Good phrase to know.
And if the problem's on your end, politely warn them, sorry, I have bad service. Or maybe I'm going into an elevator. Explains why you might cut out.
Proactive politeness.
Yeah. And if you miss something, don't just guess. Politely ask, can you repeat that? Or, sorry, I didn't catch that. Keeps communication clear, shows you're trying despite the tech issues.
And thinking about the start of a call, it really sets the whole tone, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
For casual calls, hey, what's going on, is so fundamental. It's not just hello. It's an open invitation for them to share news or maybe hint why they're calling.
Right.
And the super common natural reply, especially if you don't have big news, is nothing much. What's up with you?
The standard return.
Exactly. And the insight here is how these simple phrases manage to show curiosity without being nosy. They're open-ended enough to invite detail, but general enough not to demand it.
Creates a comfortable start.
Precisely. Low-stakes entry point lets the conversation flow naturally from there.
That what's going on is such a workhorse. And sometimes you call just to connect. No real agenda.
Just checking in.
Yeah. The source gives 3 great ways to phrase that. I'm just calling to catch up. Implies you want to hear their news, share yours.
Mutual update.
Or, I'm just calling to check in. Means you're making sure things are okay, maybe you haven't talked for a bit.
Shows you're thinking of them.
Even more direct, I'm just calling to check up on you. Often used if you know they were maybe sick or just haven't heard from them in a while. Shows concern.
Caring phrases.
And general friendly starters. What have you been up to lately? Sounds genuinely interested.
Yeah.
And what's new? Super versatile for any recent happenings, good or maybe even challenging.
Keeps the connection alive.
Exactly. Shows you care, even over the phone.
Now, asking for favors over the phone, giving a little heads up can really help how it's received.
Smooth the way.
Yeah. The phrase, I've got a favor to ask, does that perfectly. Gently prepares them without just blurting it out. It's polite because it gives them a moment to signal if they're available or willing.
Okay.
And the common friendly responses, shoot, I'm all ears, or totally. These are great because they immediately show enthusiasm and willingness.
Positive signals.
Definitely. Shoot means go ahead, tell me. I'm all ears means I'm listening fully. Totally is like, of course, happy to help. They signal a supportive attitude, makes the asker feel more comfortable.
Sets a collaborative tone.
Exactly. Turns it into a helpful exchange right away.
And one of the biggest reasons for phone calls, making plans. Our source gives us a great toolkit for this.
Essential life skill.
To gently check availability. What are you up to? Soft way to see if they're free.
Less direct than, are you free?
Yeah. Discussing timing. What time did you have in mind? Or when you want to meet up. Collaborative ways to find a time.
Finding what works for both.
Location. The classic your place or mine. Offers flexibility, shows you're willing either way.
Fair offer.
And once you have the basics, practical stuff, could you tell me the address? Or the very common, can you text, send me the details? Makes coordination easy.
Gets the logistics sorted smoothly.
Exactly. Avoids confusion later.
And the logistics often go beyond just time and place, right? Transportation, other details.
True.
The source offers good phrases. Offering a ride. Do you want me to pick you up? Or just, I can drive. Polite offers. Helpful. Unsure how they're getting there. How are you getting there is a polite inquiry. Might even prompt them to say they need a lift.
Opens the door.
For social events, who's going to be there? Very common question. helps people feel prepared, know what to expect.
Manage expectations.
Then food often comes up. Have you eaten yet? Still that polite, indirect hunger check. Let's grab a bite for a casual meal. And checking preferences. What do you think about type of food? Like, what about Thai? Or how about pizza?
Important for group decisions.
Crucial. Avoids assumptions. Make sure the plan works for everyone's taste. More inclusive, more enjoyable.
Okay, details sorted, plan made. It's nice to wrap it up with some enthusiasm, right?
Yeah, confirm it positively.
The source gives great, confident phrases. Well, it's a plan. Concise, definite, signals agreement.
Done deal.
Another super common one, use even just between friends. It's a date. Implies it's firm, exciting, maybe a bit special.
Adds a fun touch.
And simple but powerful. I can't wait. Shows genuine anticipation for getting together.
Builds excitement.
Yeah. These phrases don't just confirm logistics. They express your enthusiasm, reinforcing that connection and shared excitement.
Now, shifting to more formal calls like making appointments, the language gets more precise, more direct.
Makes sense for business.
You'd usually start with, I need to make an appointment, or I'm calling to schedule an appointment. Clear purpose.
No beating around the bush.
Exactly. When we ask about timing, it might be, what times work best for you? Or, when are you free? Direct inquiry. If they suggest a time, how about Tuesday at 1:30? Does that work with your schedule? Direct check.
Clear confirmation needed.
And a phrase you hear, especially if schedules are tight, I can pencil you in. Means they can fit you in, maybe provisionally. Implies flexibility, but also busyness.
Good to know that one.
And the insight here is why formal calls use this directness, unlike casual chats' indirectness. It's about efficiency, clarity, making sure critical details like times and dates are unambiguous.
Avoids mistakes.
Precisely. Reflects that time is money efficiency valued in professional settings.
And once that appointment time is tentatively set, confirming details is absolutely vital.
Don't want any mix-ups.
The source notes they'll often ask you to confirm things. Can you confirm your date of birth or your standard verification?
A necessary procedure.
And if you want to double check, perfectly fine to ask, can you confirm the appointment time again? Or just to confirm, that's Tuesday at 1:30, right? Ensures you both have it right.
Better safe than sorry.
Definitely. If the time doesn't work, you have polite ways to ask for alternatives. Do you have anything available next week? Or read earlier, later. And just for clarity, I just want to clarify the time date.
Keeps everything accurate.
Exactly. Prevents future problems, shows you're diligent.
And wrapping up those formal calls also needs politeness. Okay, take care is actually quite versatile, works formally and informally. Kind closing,
Yeah.
more strictly professional. Have a good day or have a great day, standard, friendly, universally understood.
Safe bets.
And as mentioned, in the southern U.S., have a blessed day is a regional, warm option. If they were helpful, maybe combine thanks and future contact. Thanks again. Talk to you soon. And a standard business closing, or for you, acknowledging service, thanks for calling.
Professional and polite finish.
Exactly. Leaves a good final impression, maintains professionalism.
Okay, this is a really fascinating area.
Yeah.
How we actually address people, the unspoken rules.
Oh yeah, lots of potential pitfalls here.
So what does this all mean for figuring out what to call someone beyond their name? Let's start with casual terms.
Okay, the informal stuff.
Dude, super common in American English. Originally male, but honestly, you can use it with close friends, even female friends. Hey, dude. If you know them really well, sign of relaxed friendship.
Context is key there.
Totally. Man is similar. Hey, man, what's up? Interestingly, we don't really use woman that way, but girl can be used between female friends or sometimes by a guy to a close female friend. Hey, girl.
Also needs the right relationship.
Definitely. Newer slang, bestie. Often for a close friend when giving advice. Hey, bestie, you should. And BFF, best friend forever, can even refer to things like coffee is my BFF.
Yeah, you hear that.
These signal familiarity, comfort when used right, but misuse them. Awkward.
And this really brings up those social dynamics and power structures, especially with terms you need to be cautious about.
Right, the ones to handle with care.
While dude, man, girl might be okay with close friends, others are riskier. Buddy, for example. Fine for kids, pets maybe. But between adults, it can sometimes sound condescending if overused.
Patronizing.
Yeah, potentially best used sparingly with adults. Mate is very British. Sounds odd in the US unless you're actually talking about, animals mating.
Okay, avoid mate in the US.
Pretty much. Lad, also British for a young man, rare in the US. Then phrases like hello, beautiful, or lovely, fine maybe with your partner, but to a stranger, colleague, platonic friend, can easily come across as sexist, inappropriate, especially at work.
A big no-no in professional settings.
Absolutely. And chick, while casual in some groups, avoid saying it directly to someone's face, can be seen as disrespectful. These terms really show how language reflects social dynamics. Using them carelessly can cause real offense. Context, relationship awareness are crucial.
That's such vital advice. Context is everything. Now, formal terms, ma'am and sir.
The respectful standards.
Right. Perfectly good for addressing elders or in clear workplace service situations, like a shop assistant saying, hello, ma'am, or addressing authority.
As a respect.
But here's the key thing. You generally do not use ma'am or sir with your friends, your neighbors, your peers. It sounds weirdly formal, stiff, creates distance.
Too much formality.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So great for showing respect in specific formal contexts, but using them wrong makes things awkward, not friendly. Match the address to the situation and relationship. Okay, let's tackle introductions and presenting yourself. Another potentially tricky area.
First impressions count.
So thinking about not just what to call them, but what you say about yourself in those first moments. Names first. Absolutely crucial.
Foundation of connection.
Simplest intro. I'm Kayla. If you have a common nickname, offer it. My name's William, but my friends call me Will, or I go by Will, or just Will is fine.
Gives them options.
And remember that trick.
Yeah.
Use their name right back at them. It's nice to meet you, Kayla. Makes them feel acknowledged. Helps you remember. Builds rapport instantly.
Solid gold tip. And then the dreaded question, tell me about yourself.
Ugh, yeah. So vague.
Exactly. Why is it so common yet so hard? Because it's wide open. People freeze up wondering what the asker actually wants to know.
So what's the key?
The key, our source suggests, is having some go-to phrases ready about common areas of interest. Where you're from, what you do, work, study, family, hobbies. A brief, relevant snapshot.
Prepared talking points.
Basically, yeah.
Oh.
Avoids the overwhelm, lets you give a rounded picture without rambling.
Makes sense. Starting with origin or background is often a good icebreaker. People are curious, especially maybe in the US.
True, lots of interest in backgrounds.
Questions like, where are you from? Or where did you grow up? If you immigrated.
I immigrated from country. You can say it with pride. Or, I'm originally from country. Maybe adding how long you've been here. Been here for 5 years.
Clear and informative.
If your family came from one place, but you grew up elsewhere. My family came from country, but I grew up in place. It's a great way to share a bit of your story authentically. Often sparks more conversation. Next up, usually, is profession or education. Formally, maybe, what is your profession? But casually, it's almost always, what do you do?
The standard question.
And answering is straightforward. I work as a job. I work as a graphic designer, or broader. I work in industry. I work in healthcare, or I work in finance.
Okay.
Or just state your career. I'm a writer. I'm a student if the company's known. I work for company. I work for the local council. For students, I studied subject, or I majored in subject. And for experience, I have experience in field, or I have a background in field.
Lots of ways to frame it depending on the situation.
Exactly. It lets you convey your professional side clearly and concisely.
After work study, family often comes up in social chat. Important note. Not okay in job interviews. Legally.
Yep, girl.
Totally fine casually.
Good distinction.
You can say, I have family in place, another country, another city, if you don't want specifics or they're spread out. I have a big family, or I have family all over the place. Works fine.
Keeps it general if needed.
And definitely mention partners, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and pets. Absolutely count pets as family in the US.
Oh yeah, pets are family members for sure.
Talking about your dog or cat is a fantastic way to connect. So many animal lovers out there. Find that common ground.
And hobbies and interests. Connecting on this level is really about finding that common ground, building personal rapport.
Showing your human side.
Exactly. The source gives simple, natural ways to talk about them. I'm into hobby. This is very natural, contemporary English. I'm into hiking. I'm into photography.
Casual and clear.
Or phrase it around your free time. In my spare time, I like to activity. Or in my leisure time. Or in my free time. All sound natural. In my free time, I like to play guitar.
Makes you relatable.
Totally. Shows you're a well-rounded person, opens doors for finding shared interests beyond just work talk.
Okay, now for that really tough one, the icebreaker question that makes people panic. Tell me something interesting about yourself.
Oh, the pressure.
All right, puts you on the spot. But the key, says our source, isn't finding the most amazing fact ever. Interesting is subjective. The main thing is just having something ready.
Avoid the awkward silence.
Exactly. Ideas. Your dream job, a skill you have, something unique about your hometown, an unusual fact, broke a weird bone once, speak multiple languages, places you've traveled.
Anything works, really.
Pretty much. Just having an answer ready, maybe starting with, well, an interesting thing about me is, makes you feel way more confident and keep things moving. Turns panic into connection.
And finally, that super common Monday, Tuesday question. What did you do over the weekend or over the break? Another one that can catch you off guard.
If you just stayed home and watched TV.
Exactly. The source advises having easy, general answers ready. If you genuinely didn't do much, I just relaxed or laying low or perfectly fine, totally understood.
Takes the pressure off being exciting.
Right. Or mention one simple thing. Went for a walk, saw some friends, for a bit of humor, staying out of trouble. Or if you were busy but don't want to detail it, keeping busy works.
Good fallback options.
And the why behind having these ready is key. It reduces that immediate stress of thinking on the spot, lets you handle small talk smoothly, politely, without oversharing if you don't want to. Builds confidence.
Okay, let's quickly cover responses to common small talk questions. Like, how are things?
The classic opener.
Good is fine, but maybe a bit more engaging. Life is good implies general contentment. Maybe invites more if they're interested.
A bit more open.
Or slightly less upbeat, but still positive.
I can't complain.
Signals things are okay, not perfect, but you're not going to list problems. Keeps it light.
Yeah, and that I can't complain is interesting, isn't it? It's like a subtle conversational agreement.
How so?
You're signaling, things are fine enough for this chat, I'm not going to unload my troubles on you. It keeps the interaction pleasant, manageable, shows awareness of social boundaries, keeps things positive.
Good point. And there's what's new. Can be tricky if genuinely nothing's new.
The same old moment.
Right, so if something did happen,
Yeah.
settling into the new apartment, working on a new project, but if not, nothing much is fine. Or the very relatable, same old, same old.
Perfectly acceptable answer.
Totally. Charmingly implies life's just ticking along normally. It keeps the conversation going even without big news.
And how have you been feels a bit more personal than how are things. Maybe invites a slightly deeper answer.
Allows for more range.
Yeah. Our source gives a spectrum, super positive, never better, doing okay, I could be better, things not great, I've been better, really having a tough time, I've seen better days.
A scale of well-being.
Exactly. And the point is, these phrases signal your general state without forcing a long explanation. They give the other person cues on how to respond, offer sympathy, change the subject, etc. Calibrates the conversation.
We have covered so much ground today. A real deep dive into polite English conversation, from offering food to phone calls to introductions.
Yeah, a lot of practical stuff.
We looked at how do you want a bite builds connection, how complimenting someone's home shows real appreciation, how that elevator speech makes a difference. It's really not just about sounding correct, is it? It's about that authentic connection.
In zooming out, mastering these phrases, it's really more than just manners. It helps you build trust, cross cultural divides, foster stronger relationships, personally and professionally.
It empowers you.
It really does. Knowing how to politely ask for time, give a genuine compliment, decline gracefully, turns awkward moments into chances for real respect. And consciously using these tools, it subtly shapes how you present yourself, how you express your considerate side in English, makes you a better communicator.
So as you head into your next conversation, maybe with someone new, maybe an old friend, just think about this. How could choosing just one of these polite phrases intentionally not only boost your confidence, but also maybe brighten their day a little? Make them feel seen, valued. How can that simple, thoughtful word choice actually make the world feel a bit warmer, one polite phrase at a time? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into a topic that might seem, well, incredibly straightforward on the surface, but trust me, it's absolutely brimming with surprising nuances that can fundamentally transform your everyday English. We're talking about the subtle yet powerful art of ordering, whether it's your morning coffee, a hearty meal, or maybe a delightful baked good.
Right, things we do all the time.
Exactly. This isn't just about knowing vocabulary. It's about mastering the unspoken rules, understanding those fascinating shifts in pronunciation, and gaining the genuine confidence to navigate these ubiquitous daily interactions with effortless grace.
Think about how often you find yourself in a situation where you need to order something. It's a constant, fundamental thread woven into the fabric of daily life.
Your essential morning caffeine fix, a quick lunch, grabbing a snack on the go.
It's everywhere.
And this deep dive is meticulously custom tailored to help you become a true master of these interactions, making them not just efficient, but genuinely feel effortless.
And our core mission today is, to meticulously extract the most crucial insights from the rich stack of sources we've compiled on practical English phrases for ordering food and beverages across a diverse range of settings.
So we're not just handing out a list of words.
Definitely not. We aim to go far beyond that. Instead, we are going to peel back the layers and uncover the profound why behind the choices native speakers intuitively make.
Right.
We're delving into the preferred grammatical structures, the often overlooked yet critical pronunciation shifts that occur in natural speech, and, the underlying cultural context that truly unlock a deeper level of fluency and understanding.
Because knowing those details helps you speak and understand better, right?
Precisely. Grasping these intricate details will empower you not just to speak more effectively and naturally, but also to comprehend native speakers with far greater clarity, which, as we know, is often half the battle in real-world conversations. It's about recognizing how individual sounds fuse together and why certain phrasing carries a specific social weight or is simply more efficient.
That's spot on. And to achieve this mastery, we're going to take you on a truly dynamic journey. We'll kick things off in the casual, familiar world of everyday cafe interactions. The ones that often define our mornings.
The coffee run.
Exactly. From there, we'll smoothly transition to the more involved and nuanced environment of sit-down restaurants, where politeness and specific requests truly take center stage.
A different vibe altogether.
Then we'll accelerate into the fast-paced, highly efficient realm of drive-thrusts, where brevity and clarity are paramount.
Speed is key there.
And finally, we'll wrap up our exploration by savoring the delightful and often sensory experience of ordering at a bakery. So get ready for a series of genuine aha moments, packed with surprising linguistic facts and practical tips that will make this learning not just incredibly effective, but genuinely memorable and enjoyable.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, let's really unpack this by diving into what is arguably the most common ordering ritual for countless people. The cafe order. This is where you grab your essential daily caffeine fix, perhaps a soothing herbal tea or even a refreshing smoothie.
Right.
What's fascinating here is that even in such a seemingly simple transaction, there are some remarkably subtle yet significant differences in how native speakers intuitively phrase their orders.
There really are.
We're going to break down the most common and truly native-sounding phrases for you, giving you the tools to sound like you've been doing this your whole life.
Indeed. When it comes to requesting beverages at a cafe, you'll observe that native speakers overwhelmingly gravitate towards a few specific key phrases.
Okay.
And truly understanding the subtle nuances of these phrases, beyond just their literal meaning, can make an enormous difference, not only in how natural you sound, but perhaps even more critically, in how easily and efficiently you are understood by the person taking your order.
So it helps the whole interaction flow better.
Exactly. It's about more than just words. It's about the expectation and sort of the social contract of the interaction.
So if you want to sound as authentic and confident as possible, what's the number one phrase? The absolute most common and native-sounding one you should really try to adopt.
Okay, the top one, the one you'll hear most often, is "I'll get a."
I'll get a.
Yeah. For example, you would confidently say, "I'll get a large cold brew with oat milk," or "I'll get a small black coffee, please."
So it's not really a question, is it? Like you're not asking permission.
That's the key thing. It's a clear, decisive statement of what you intend to receive. This conveys a sense of confidence and efficiency that is highly valued in quick, transactional environments.
It basically signals, this is my choice, please prepare it for me.
Exactly.
Now you mentioned pronunciation shifts earlier. Is there something specific about, I'll get a?
Ah, yes. This is really fascinating and a critical insight for any wanting to truly understand native speech. When native speakers say, "I'll get a," It very often sounds like one fluid, combined word in rapid conversational English.
Like mashed together.
Pretty much. Almost like I'll get or even just I'll
Okay.
This blending of sounds, linguists call it illusion or assimilation. It's incredibly common. The subtle 10 sound at the end of get might even disappear or soften into the as sound that follows.
Oh, wow.
Recognizing this fusion of sounds is absolutely key to understanding native speakers when they speak quickly. And if you practice articulating it this way yourself, it will make your speech flow far more naturally.
So it sounds less like you're reading from a script.
Precisely, less like you're reading from a textbook and more like a fluent speaker. This isn't lazy speech either, it's just how the language efficiently connects sounds.
Like gonna or wanna.
Exactly, same principle. You hear it in gonna, going to, wanna, have to, kinda, or sorta, sort of. It's everywhere.
That's a huge aha moment.
Yeah.
Right there. It's all about that natural flow and connection. So if I'll get a kinda is the top choice, what's another incredibly common and perfectly acceptable option? You know, if that one isn't quite clicking for someone, or maybe they just prefer a slightly different tone.
Well, another very common and widely used option, which you'll hear from a significant percentage of native speakers, our sources suggest around 80% use it regularly, is I'd like a.
I'd like a. Okay, that sounds a bit more polite, maybe.
It can be perceived that way, yeah.
Well,
This phrasing offers a slightly more formal, perhaps a touch more polite, yet still widely accepted and perfectly natural alternative. So saying, I'd like a large cold brew with oat milk is entirely appropriate and will be clearly understood.
it still sounds like you know what you want, though.
Oh, definitely. It conveys a polite statement of desire without the same sort of direct certainty of, I'll get a, but still signaling a clear intention to order.
Now, what about, can I have a poem? I certainly hear that one sometimes too, especially maybe from learners of English. Is that grammatically okay? And how does it stack up against the others?
It is absolutely grammatically correct to say, can I have a, for example, can I have a small green tea with honey? Perfectly fine sentence.
But. There's a but, isn't there?
There is a subtle difference in usage, yeah. Here's the crucial distinction. When native speakers already know precisely what they want to order, they instinctively tend to state their orders as affirmative facts or declarations.
Like, I'll get a ba, or I'd like a bat.
Exactly. Rather than framing them as questions that might imply uncertainty or even a request for permission, those phrases convey a distinct sense of knowing your order, which is generally the preferred approach in fast-paced transactional settings like a cafe counter.
So can I have a, it might sound a bit less confident, or like you're unsure if they even have it.
It can sometimes subtly imply that yes, that you are asking if the item is available or if you are permitted to have it, rather than simply stating your order. It's not inherently wrong, let me stress that, but it's just less commonly chosen by natives when the item's availability is pretty much assumed.
That distinction really clarifies things. It's like you're not asking if they can give it to you, but rather confidently stating your intention to receive it. Okay, so to round out our most common phrases for cafes, what's the second most common overall after I'll get a that still has that confident vibe?
The second most common phrase you'll encounter, closely following I'll get a, is I'll have a.
I'll have a. Also using that I'll contraction.
Exactly. Again, it relies on the contracted form I will, which naturally blends into all in spoken English. So I'll have a large cold brew with oat milk sounds completely natural and is very widely used.
So I'll get a and I'll have all are basically interchangeable.
For all practical purposes, in this context, yes. They effectively convey the same confident intent to place an order. The key linguistic takeaway here is that pervasive contraction I'll, which is how we as native speakers naturally articulate it.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting and practical. When do we switch back to using those question forms? Because sometimes you absolutely do need to ask a question.
Right.
Especially when you're not entirely sure about the available options, or if you have very specific dietary requirements or preferences. This is where precision becomes paramount.
That's precisely the situation where question forms become not just essential, but indispensable. For instance, if you have a specific taste preference you need to confirm, a known dietary restriction, or maybe a potential allergy, you absolutely must use a question to inquire about availability or suitability.
And is there a common way to structure those questions?
Yes. The most common and versatile structure you'll employ is, do you have any options?
Do you have any options?
And again, thinking about pronunciation, in spoken English, this often blends, sounding quite often like, do you have any?
Do you have any?
Yeah. Again, the goal isn't to force you to speak that exact way, but just to prepare you to understand it when native speakers efficiently combine their sounds.
Could you give us some really specific examples of those options questions?
Yeah.
The kind people will actually hear and need to use in cafes or restaurants? I think that would be incredibly useful.
Of course. You might ask, do you have any caffeine-free options?
Okay, caffeine-free. That suffix free, what does that mean exactly?
Good question. The free suffix, as in caffeine-free, basically means without or lacking. So caffeine-free means without caffeine. This suffix is incredibly versatile and productive in North American English, especially concerning dietary restrictions and product descriptions.
So you hear it a lot.
Oh, yeah. You'll commonly hear, do you have any gluten-free options? Which is vital for individuals with celiac disease or gluten sensitivities, meaning options prepared without gluten. Another frequent query is, do you have any sugar-free options for those monitoring their sugar intake? And, increasingly important, do you have any dairy-free options?
Dairy-free, for people avoiding milk products.
Exactly, whether it's due to lactose intolerance, allergy, or just personal choice.
Dairy-free options. That feels like such a huge topic in North America right now. Could you expand a bit on the cultural relevance here and maybe detail some of the most common plant-based alternatives that listeners should know about?
Absolutely. In North America, there has been a truly remarkable and honestly quite rapid shift towards plant-based milks. It's huge. This makes dairy-free options incredibly common and widely expected in cafes and even grocery stores now.
Like oat milk. That seems to be everywhere.
Oat milk, yes, has become exceptionally popular. It's a plant-based alternative made from oats, obviously not cows, and it's celebrated for its wonderfully creamy texture and a slightly sweet, pretty neutral flavor profile that blends beautifully into coffee and espresso drinks. It can even create a latte foam, very similar to dairy milk.
What about other options like almond or coconut?
Right. Almond milk is another very common non-dairy type, offering a lighter, maybe nuttier flavor. Coconut milk is also an option, though you'll find it less common in North American cafes specifically for coffee.
Why is that?
Well, partly due to its distinct flavor, which isn't always preferred with coffee, and sometimes its higher cost compared to oat or almond milk.
So oat and almond are the main players.
Generally, yes. The sheer prevalence of these options means you'll consistently find extensive sections of menus dedicated to dairy-free alternatives in most cafes and many restaurants. They're directly catering to a rapidly growing consumer demand.
Good to know. And just to be super clear for everyone listening, how do you spell dairy?
Good point. Dairy is spelled D-A-I-R-Y.
Perfect. So when you want to make a specific adjustment to your drink, like turning a typically hot drink into a cold one, say it's summer, and your usual hot tea just needs to be iced. How do you phrase that effectively?
Okay, for those precise preparation requests, especially converting a hot beverage to a cold one, you would most effectively use, can you make it iced?
Can you make it iced? So it's a question again?
Exactly. It's phrased as a question because you are not making an assumption that it's universally possible or standard. You are inquiring about a specific modification. The word make in this context simply means prepare or produce.
And any pronunciation quirks with iced.
Yes. Pay very close attention to the pronunciation of iced in natural speech. It often ends with a clear T sound, so it sounds more like ice it rather than a soft iced.
Ice it. Okay, interesting.
You might also ask for other specific preparations, like can you make it extra hot? Or maybe can I get it with light ice? Or even can you make it lukewarm if you don't want it scalding?
Perfect. So you could seamlessly combine that with your initial order, right? Something like, I'll get a small green tea with honey. Can you make it iced?
Precisely. That flows really naturally and clearly.
Okay, so you've ordered, maybe asked for a modification, and now you have your drink. But you want to double check it's right, especially if it was, say, a caffeine-free request. How do you do that without sounding accusatory?
Right. You don't want to seem like you're complaining before you even taste it. A very useful and polite confirmation technique is this. You state what you believe to be true about the item you've just received, and then you add right at the end.
Okay, like a little tag question.
Exactly. For instance, if you specifically ordered an unsweetened iced tea as you pick it up, you might politely say, this is unsweetened, right?
I see. That feels much gentler than, did you make this unsweetened?
Exactly. This phrasing is non-accusatory and simply seeks confirmation.
That's a really clever and non-confrontational approach. So other excellent examples would be, this is caffeine-free, right? Or perhaps, this is oat milk, right?
Exactly. It's a fantastic way to get that final reassuring confirmation before you fully commit to your drink or walk away. It's all about ensuring accuracy and peace of mind without directly challenging or accusing the person who prepared your order. It's just a polite check.
Okay, let's clarify some common coffee terms that sometimes cause confusion, especially maybe for those new to North American coffee culture. What exactly does black coffee mean in its simplest form?
Black coffee is quite straightforward. It simply means coffee brewed without any added sugar or milk or cream.
Just the coffee itself.
Right. It's just the pure, unadulterated brewed coffee on its own. For those who truly appreciate the nuanced flavors of coffee, ordering it black allows you to experience the specific characteristics of the beans and the roast. And it's worth noting that black coffee can come from various brewing methods, not just one.
And I've definitely heard the term drip coffee,
Right.
especially in what you might call fancy or specialty cafes. What does that term signify and why is it used?
Drip coffee. That's the widely used term for, well, regular, standard, ordinary brewed coffee.
It's normal coffee.
Pretty much, especially within cafes that offer a wide array of more elaborate or specialty drinks like lattes, cappuccinos, Americanos, things like that. It specifically refers to the common brewing process where hot water slowly drips through a bed of ground coffee. Hence the name drip.
Okay, so it describes how it's made.
Exactly. So if you simply want a basic, standard cup of hot coffee without any fancy additions or espresso, you would confidently ask for drip coffee to differentiate it from the more complex specialty beverages on the menu.
And you can still specify black, right? Like I'll get a large black drip coffee.
That's exactly how you'd combine it. It's the everyday workhorse of coffee, really.
That's a truly fantastic distinction. It helps clarify exactly what you're asking for, especially when faced with one of those huge, slightly intimidating menus. So what does all of this mean for you, our dedicated listener? Take a moment to reflect on your own daily coffee or tea routine. Which of these essential phrases resonates most with your style? Which specific phrase will you actively try to incorporate the very next time you place an order?
You know, they fit so naturally and seamlessly into daily life, don't they?
They really do. And mastering them truly makes a difference in feeling comfortable and confident. Okay, we've successfully mastered the quick and efficient cafe order, arming ourselves with confidence for our daily caffeine fix. Now, let's gracefully transition into a slightly more involved and often more formal environment, the sit-down restaurant.
Right, a different setting entirely.
This is a setting where you're not merely grabbing something to go. You're typically sitting down, perhaps enjoying a meal with friends, family, or colleagues, and the whole interaction extends far beyond a simple transaction at a counter.
That's absolutely correct. Ordering at a sit-down restaurant introduces a distinct set of social cues, expectations, and common phrases that are crucial to navigate. The experience often begins even before you've had a chance to look at the menu, usually with getting a table.
Right, so when you first walk into a restaurant and you're looking to be seated, what's the most common, concise, and natural way to say how many people are in your party?
Okay. The most common, concise, and perfectly natural way to indicate your party size is to simply say, for two, please, or for four, please, depending on your group size.
Just for two, not table for two.
While it is grammatically correct to say, table for two, please, most native speakers will spontaneously drop the word table and opt for this shortened, more efficient version. It's universally understood and signals that you're ready to be seated.
Direct, polite, efficient. Got it.
Exactly. Doesn't waste words.
And what if you have a specific preference for where you sit? Like maybe you prefer a certain type of seating or location within the restaurant. How do you politely convey that without sounding demanding?
You can absolutely and politely state your preference. For example, in a booth, if you have one, is a very common request.
A booth being the bench seating, usually.
Yeah, right. Typically fixed bench seating, often upholstered, usually against a wall or as part of a row, rather than individual chairs. Lots of people prefer booths for comfort, privacy, or easier conversation.
Okay. And what about sitting outside?
If you prefer to sit outdoors, maybe on a nice day, you might say on the patio if there's space or if there's room.
Notice the prepositions there. In a booth, but on the patio.
Good catch. Yes, in a booth, on the patio. And adding that little phrase, if you have one, or if there's space room, is really key for politeness.
Why is that?
It implies that you understand it might not be available, making your request flexible and courteous rather than a demand. The one in if you have one refers specifically back to a booth, but for a patio, you're asking about the availability of space on the patio itself.
Makes sense. So once you're comfortably seated, maybe settling in with water, but before you really dive into the main menu, a lot of people are curious about any special offerings the kitchen might have that day. How do you ask about those?
A very common and frankly smart question to ask your server is, do you have any specials tonight? Or maybe just, what are the specials?
And specials means what exactly?
Specials refer to unique dishes or beverages that are not listed on the regular printed menu. These are often creative, seasonal, or limited time offerings prepared by the chef for that particular night, week, or even just the day.
So it's a way to try something new, maybe something really fresh.
Exactly. Restaurants use specials to highlight fresh, seasonal ingredients, to test out new recipes, showcase a chef's creativity, or sometimes even to utilize specific ingredients before they, well, go bad. Asking about them is a fantastic way to explore new dishes and ensure you don't miss out on something potentially unique and often exceptionally fresh.
Good tip. Now let's tackle beverages at the table, specifically water. Restaurants often present various water options. How do you expertly navigate that, especially if you just want plain old free tap water?
This is a particularly important cultural point, especially for North America. When asked about water, you might be offered choices like sparkling water, still bottled water, maybe even filtered water, all of which typically cost extra.
Right.
If you simply want regular tap water, the most common and culturally appropriate phrase to use is house water is fine, or just house water, please.
House water, that's the key term.
That is the key restaurant term for tap water in North America. And it's absolutely crucial for you to understand that here, tap water is generally considered safe to drink, widely available, and importantly, completely free of charge in restaurants.
So they might offer the fancy stuff first to make money.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Restaurants might offer bottled or sparkling water first because it's a revenue source. So by confidently saying house water is fine, you are politely but clearly declining the paid options and specifying that you prefer the complimentary tap water. If a restaurant in North America tries to charge you for basic tap water, that is highly unusual, and frankly, you're probably being ripped off.
Okay, so house water is fine, is the go-to for free, refreshing water. Now, you mentioned sparkling water. What exactly is that? How is it different from, say, club soda or tonic water?
Good question. There are subtle differences. Sparkling water is quite simply water that has been carbonated, meaning it has bubbles of carbon dioxide gas infused into it, giving it that characteristic fizz.
Like soda, but just water.
Essentially, yes. Think of it like a soda, but without any sweeteners, flavors, or other additives. It's distinct from club soda, which often has added minerals and sometimes a slightly salty taste, or seltzer, which is generally just plain carbonated water. And tonic water, while also fizzy, is different again. It contains quinine and typically sugar, giving it a unique bitter and sweet flavor, often used as a mixer in drinks like gin and tonic.
So sparkling water is just pure, bubbly water.
Usually, yes, that's the general understanding.
That's a great distinction for our listener, helping differentiate between those subtly different beverage options. So as you dine out, you can consider your preferences now that you know these specific phrases for navigating water choices. Okay, let's pivot and delve into the fascinating art of customizing your meal, specifically focusing on substitutions. This is a remarkably common scenario.
Oh, yeah.
You want to change a side dish that comes with your main course, or maybe an ingredient. It's where your linguistic agility can really shine.
Absolutely. A very common and practical question you might find yourself asking is, can I substitute the fries for a Caesar salad?
And that's a question because you don't know if it's allowed or if it costs extra.
Exactly. It's rightly phrased as a question because you genuinely do not know if it's permissible or if there will be an additional fee involved. The verb substitute in this context means to change one included item for another item.
So you're swapping the fries for the salad.
Precisely. If the meal package comes with fries, but you prefer the Caesar salad instead, you are explicitly requesting a direct replacement. And it's important to be aware that there might indeed be a small upcharge for this.
Why is that?
Often you are swapping a less expensive standard side, like fries, for a more premium option, like a prepared salad, reflecting differences in ingredient costs or maybe portion control.
Okay, so substitute clearly means replacing one thing with another. Can you just use the word replace instead? Like, can I replace the fries with a Caesar salad?
Yes, replace is a perfectly valid and commonly used synonym in this context. Can I replace the fries with a Caesar salad?
Oh,
Works just as effectively and conveys the identical meaning.
good to know. But are there phrases to avoid? Like, could you say, can I turn the fries into a Caesar salad?
No, definitely avoid that one.
Why not?
because the idiom turn into fundamentally implies a transformation or a creation, like, turning water into ice or an old log into a sculpture. You are certainly not magically creating a salad from the fries. You are merely swapping one pre-existing item for another. That distinction is important for natural communication. Don't try to be an alchemist with your side dishes.
That's a truly invaluable clarification. Don't turn fries into salad.
Got it. And speaking of small additions, how do you politely ask for something like an extra slice of lemon for your water, or maybe a side of sauce?
For those common small additions, you can simply and directly add a phrase like, "with a slice of lemon, please," to your water order. Or maybe ask later, "could I also get a side of ranch dressing, please?" It's direct and clear.
You mentioned slice of lemon. Is there a difference between a slice and, say, a wedge?
Good point. There often is. For beverages like water or iced tea, you typically receive a slice of lemon, a thin, often round piece, primarily just for flavor infusion. However, for something like a Caesar salad or maybe a piece of fish, you might be given a wedge, which is a thicker, often quartered piece of citrus fruit specifically intended for squeezing a larger quantity of juice over your food. Slice for flavor, wedge for squeezing. Makes sense. Okay, here's a crucial distinction that I think often trips people up and can lead to misunderstandings. The difference between substitutions and simple removals. Can you really highlight that difference for us?
Yes, this is a very important point for clarity in ordering, and sometimes for managing expectations about cost.
Okay.
If you simply do not want an item that typically comes with your order, for example, asking for your burger with no tomato, that is categorized as a removal, not a substitution.
Because nothing is taking its place.
Exactly. You are explicitly asking for an item to be excluded, and you are not requesting anything to replace it. A substitution, on the other hand, inherently implies that something else is taking the place of the removed item.
Like the classic fries for salad swap we talked about.
Precisely. A very common scenario is when people choose to substitute a side salad for fries, maybe because they prefer the healthier option rather than simply asking for no fries at all without replacing them.
And does removing something usually get you a discount, like no tomato, cheaper burger?
Generally, no. Simply removing an item from your order almost never leads to a discount in the overall price.
Why not?
Because you are not replacing it with an item of lesser or equal value that would alter the cost structure of the meal as it was designed and priced. The restaurant has already accounted for that standard item, like the tomato, in the base price. They usually only charge extra for additions.
That's a truly key takeaway for navigating menus with confidence and managing expectations. So listener, if you were ordering a classic burger and fries, and you had the option to substitute a side item, what would you personally choose to swap out, and why? Think about your preferred side: salad, onion rings, coleslaw.
Interesting question to ponder.
All right, we've tackled the sit-down dining experience. Now let's shift gears dramatically and plunge into the world of speed, efficiency, and incredible convenience, the drive-through and fast food experience.
Yeah, total change of pace here.
This environment is characterized by its highly casual nature, and indeed, brevity is absolutely king here. Every word counts, and efficiency is paramount.
That's spot on. The drive-through is arguably the most casual and streamlined ordering environment you'll encounter. Because every aspect of the operation is meticulously designed for maximum speed and throughput, there are very specific linguistic shortcuts and conventions that have become ingrained.
Things everyone just sort of knows to do.
Exactly. They're expected by both customers and staff. This is where conciseness truly reigns supreme.
Okay, one of the biggest and most obvious shortcuts I've observed is ordering by number. How common is that practice, and what's the underlying reason it's so widely used in drive-thrus?
Ordering by number is not just common, it is incredibly common and absolutely crucial for speeding up the entire ordering process.
Right, you see those big numbered menu boards.
Exactly. Most drive-thrus feature a prominent menu board where almost every combo meal or signature item is assigned a distinct number. So instead of having to recite a lengthy description like, "I'll have the double cheeseburger with bacon, a medium order of fries, and a large Coke," you can simply and efficiently say,
"I'll have the number 5.
Precisely. "I'll have the number 5. This method is remarkably quick, entirely unambiguous, and significantly speeds up the transaction for both you and the restaurant staff.
Could you also say, "I'll get the number 5"?
Absolutely. "I'll get the number 5" works perfectly too. While you technically can use the full name of the item, using the number is just way more efficient and often preferred in this rapid-fire environment.
And what if you want to remove an item, say pickles, from your burger without adding anything else? We talked about removals earlier. How do you clearly specify these exclusions without sounding rude or creating confusion in such a fast-paced setting?
Okay, for removals in fast food, you would primarily use phrases like, but with no pickles, or simply without pickles.
No pickles or without pickles.
Yes, these are by far the most common, polite, and universally understood ways to indicate that you want a specific ingredient removed. For instance, you would confidently say, I'll have the number 5, but with no pickles. Or even just,
I'll have the number 5 without pickles.
exactly. You don't even strictly need the but. It's direct and clear. Now, a word that, while grammatically correct, is far too formal and sounds really unnatural in this context is omit.
Omit. Like, could you omit the pickles?
Yeah, saying something like that would likely sound quite out of place in a drive-thru. Stick to the simple stuff.
Got it. And just like in the restaurant, removing an item generally doesn't mean you pay less, right?
Correct. They typically only charge for additions, not usually for what you leave off a standard item.
So definitely no omit, stick with no pickles or without pickles. That's a really valuable rule of thumb for this environment.
And speaking of informal phrases, I feel like I've heard some native speakers say, I'll do the number 5. Is that a common and acceptable variation?
Yes, I'll do the number 5 is indeed a very common, highly informal, but perfectly acceptable way among many native speakers to convey I'll have or I'll order.
So it's like a super casual alternative. Exactly. While I'll get a or I'll have remain the standard and universally applicable choices I'll do is certainly a part of the casual lexicon, particularly in fast food settings. It just sounds very quick and decisive.
But is there anything to avoid?
Yeah.
Like we said, omit was too formal. Anything too informal or maybe rude?
Yes, it's very important to highlight a phrase to explicitly avoid I want.
I want the number 5. Why avoid that?
While it's grammatically correct in general conversation saying, I want, when ordering food from staff in a transactional setting like this can come across as too direct, maybe a bit demanding, or even impolite.
Lacks a bit of finesse.
Yeah, it lacks the subtle politeness conveyed by the other phrases like I'll get or I'll have. It's generally best to stick with I'll get, I'll have, or even I'll do if you're comfortable with that very informal, efficient style.
That's incredibly helpful for avoiding any awkwardness. Okay, sometimes you need a little something extra in your bag, like a few more napkins or some specific sauces, ketchup packets, that sort of thing. How do you casually and effectively ask for those small additions to your takeout order?
You can use a fantastic and very casual phrase here. Can you throw in some extra napkins?
Throw in, like tossing them.
Haha. Well, not literally throwing. The key idiom here is throw in, which specifically means to include as an additional, usually free item, or simply to put into a bag along with the main purchase.
Okay, so it implies adding something extra to the bag.
Precisely. This phrase is almost exclusively used when items are being packaged to go, whether you're at a drive-thru, picking up an order at a counter inside, or even maybe at a bakery getting pastries bagged up. It implies adding something small to the bag.
So it's truly specific to things being put in a bag for takeout. Like, can you throw in some extra salt or a pair of ketchup? Or maybe can you throw in some extra spoons or straws?
Exactly. It explicitly implies packaging for takeout or delivery. And a quick note on napkins versus tissues in North American usage, since you mentioned napkins.
Oh yeah, what's the difference?
A napkin is generally a thicker paper product used for hands and mouths during eating, commonly found at restaurants or with takeout food. A tissue, often people just say Kleenex, the brand name, is typically thinner and primarily used for blowing one's nose. So you ask for napkins with food.
Good distinction. And straws. Things have changed there recently, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. For environmental reasons, you'll find that plastic straws are rapidly becoming a thing of the past in North America. Most places now provide paper straws.
Which is good for the planet, but maybe not always great for the drink.
Well, yeah, that's the common feedback. They do tend to soften and sometimes don't last as long in your drink as the old plastic ones did. It's a trade-off.
Good to know about the straws and the napkin tissue difference. Now, moving on to discounts and add-ons. How do you confidently ask if you can use a coupon or perhaps redeem your loyalty points from their app?
Okay, for discounts, you straightforwardly ask, can I use this coupon? Or can I use my points?
Simple enough. What's the difference between a coupon and points generally?
A coupon usually refers to a digital or paper voucher that provides a specific discount on a purchase like $2 off or buy one, get one free. Points are typically accumulated through loyalty programs specific to that brand or chain, which you can then redeem for free items, upgrades, or maybe different discounts.
And what about a voucher? Is that the same as a coupon?
Similar, but often a voucher is more specific. It might grant entitlement to a particular item or service that might have been pre-purchased or earned as a reward, like a voucher for a free coffee. Modern systems often use QR codes accessed via apps for digital coupons and loyalty points too, so you might just show your phone and ask, can I use this?
Right, scanning the app. Okay, and finally, what if you're looking to upgrade your order? Say, from a small drink to a medium, or add an extra ingredient like cheese or bacon. How do you inquire about the additional cost of such modifications?
This is a very common and practical question because yes, most extras or upgrades will indeed come with an additional price tag. You typically ask, how much is it to add? Or how much is it to upgrade?
Can you give some examples?
Sure. You might ask, how much is it to upgrade my combo meal to a large? Or specific to ingredients, how much is it to add cheese to this burger? Or how much is it to add bacon? Even back in the cafe context, you might inquire, how much is it to add vanilla syrup to my coffee?
Because it probably isn't free.
Exactly. This connects directly to that fundamental economic principle. There's no such thing as a free lunch, meaning extras or premium additions almost universally come at an additional cost to you. It's always wise to ask first if you're trying to manage your budget.
And anyone who's ever considered adding avocado to their sandwich knows exactly how true that principle is.
Right. Avocado is the classic example.
The cost of those seemingly small add-ons can really accumulate quickly. So it's always a smart move to ask about the price up front. How much is it to add? Good phrase to remember. Okay, we've confidently navigated the efficient world of fast food drive-thrus. Now let's move into a much more sensory and often delightful experience. The art of ordering at a bakery.
Ah, yes. The smell of fresh bread.
Exactly. This is a place where the aroma of freshly baked goods fills the air, where freshness is absolutely paramount. And sometimes you need to make very specific requests or even describe something delicious you don't quite know the name of.
Absolutely. The bakery environment offers its own unique set of customer interactions, which very frequently revolve around that critical aspect of freshness or the desire to specifically customize your order in some way. It's a place where precision in language can lead to a much more satisfying experience, getting exactly what you hoped for.
So when you're looking at that irresistible loaf of sourdough or that flaky croissant, how do you effectively confirm that it was baked fresh today? What's the most precise and natural way to ask about freshness? You don't want yesterday's bread if you're paying top dollar.
Right. You want the good stuff. The most precise and unambiguous way to ask is, was this bread made today? Or perhaps, was this baked fresh this morning?
More specific than just asking, is it fresh?
Yes, exactly. An even more direct question is, when was this bread made? While is it fresh is acceptable, it's actually less specific as the term fresh can be subjective.
How so?
Well, some might consider bread baked yesterday still technically fresh in a general sense, especially compared to bread that's several days old. But it's not today's fresh. Knowing the exact bake time is key for peak quality.
And what if it was baked yesterday? Is there a term for that?
Yes, if a bread was baked the previous day, it's very commonly referred to as day-old bread.
Day-old bread.
And you'll frequently find that sold at a discount. Now, pay attention to the pronunciation for day-old. It often sounds like day-old due to the natural blending of sounds in rapid speech.
Day-old, like one word almost.
It's a great opportunity for a bargain if you don't need something piping hot right from the oven. Maybe you're making French toast or bread pudding anyway.
Day-old bread. That's a fantastic pronunciation tip and a money-saving one too.
Okay, what if you're buying multiple items, maybe a variety of pastries, but you want one of them specifically bagged separately? Perhaps it's a gift, or you just want to keep it from getting squished by the other items.
That's a very practical and common request. You would simply say, can I get the muffin in a separate bag, please? Or maybe, could I get this croissant in its own box, please, if they offer boxes?
Just asking for it separately.
Right. This is an incredibly useful phrase for gifts, for preventing delicate items from being crushed or mixed up with others, or simply for easier handling once you leave. And this particular phrasing is also perfectly applicable back in fast food settings, too.
Oh, yeah. How so? If, for example, you want one specific burger separated from the rest of your family's order for a particular reason, maybe an allergy concern, or just keeping things organized, it's a polite and very clear way to request individual packaging.
That makes perfect sense, especially for delicate items like pastries. Now, here's a fun one. You're standing at a bakery, everything looks absolutely incredible, maybe behind a glass counter, but you don't know the specific name of a particular pastry that's caught your eye. How do you ask about it? Do you just point, or is there a more eloquent way?
Pointing is actually very common, completely acceptable, and often necessary.
Really? It's okay to point.
Oh yeah. Native speakers frequently combine pointing with descriptive language. You might point to the item and say something like, "That one looks delicious, what is it?"
Okay, so pointing plus a question.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That opens the door for the staff to tell you its proper name. But even more crucially, especially if you have allergies, dietary restrictions, or just strong preferences about ingredients.
You need to know what's in it.
Precisely. It's vital to follow up with what's in it, or what are the ingredients. This direct question prompts them to tell you about the components. You know, does it have nuts? Is there dairy? What kind of filling is that?
So you can effectively combine pointing with very clear visual descriptions, like the pink one, or the one with the strawberry on top, or maybe the one with the flaky crust and the creamy filling over there.
Exactly. That way, even without knowing the precise fancy French name, you can get all the information you need. Visual descriptions are immensely powerful in this context, especially in a sensory environment like a bakery where everything's right there on display.
And knowing what's in it is paramount for your health, safety, and just making sure you get something you'll actually enjoy.
Absolutely. It ensures you make an informed choice.
Lastly, what if you're planning a truly special occasion, like a milestone birthday, an anniversary, maybe an engagement party? How do you inquire about personalized orders, like a custom cake or specific decorated items?
Okay, for those special occasions requiring something unique and tailored, you would confidently ask, do you make custom cakes? Or maybe more specifically, can I order a custom birthday cake?
And what does custom mean in this context?
A custom cake is one where you, as the customer, have significant input and control over its design, the flavors used, the fillings, and the specific decorations.
So you get to choose how it looks and tastes.
Pretty much, within reason of what the bakery offers. This could involve everything from adding a specific name or age, incorporating edible pictures, choosing a particular theme like, I don't know, superheroes or a favorite flower, or even specifying dietary requirements like vegan or gluten-free options if they offer that.
That sounds like a great way to get something really special.
It is. It's a wonderful way to get a truly personalized and memorable item for a significant celebration.
That's truly the joy of a custom order, isn't it? Knowing you can have something uniquely yours, perfectly tailored for that special moment. Wow, what an incredibly insightful journey we've taken through the fascinating art of ordering in English. We've meticulously covered everything from that rapid-fire morning cafe stop
All good.
to the more refined sit-down restaurant experience, the hyper-efficient drive-through,
Number 5, no pickles.
and the delightful sensory world of bakeries. We've meticulously unpacked specific essential phrases like, I'll get a rock, and can you make it iced? Explore the vital nuances of substitute versus remove, and even learned how to confidently ask about day-old bread
Or day-old bread.
or inquire about custom cakes.
Yeah.
Understanding these specific phrases, the subtle linguistic shifts, and the underlying cultural insights isn't just about sounding more fluent. It's about cultivating genuine confidence and ease in your everyday interactions.
It really is.
It truly is a shortcut to being deeply well-informed and comfortable in these incredibly common, yet often underestimated scenarios.
And beyond the phrases and structures themselves, always remember the profound value of, well, critical listening and astute observation. Actively pay attention to how native speakers use these very phrases in real-life contexts.
Watching and listening.
Exactly. Notice those subtle pronunciation shifts we discussed, like the efficient blending of sounds in I'll get a or that clear day old. Knowledge is most valuable when it's not just intellectually understood, but actively applied and integrated into your own communication.
Practice makes perfect, as they say.
It really does. Consistent practice, even in seemingly small daily interactions, will rapidly solidify these new skills and make them feel like second nature. Every single interaction is a fresh opportunity to refine your understanding and enhance your application. Don't be afraid to try them out.
Absolutely. So we extend our sincere thanks to you for joining us on this deep dive into conversational confidence. Go out there, actively apply what you've learned, and continue to explore the fascinating, ever-evolving world of language.
Keep learning.
And as you do, take a moment to consider this. how knowing these subtle yet powerful differences in ordering can not only dramatically improve your fluency and efficiency, but also subtly yet significantly change how others perceive your comfort, your confidence, and your overall cultural understanding in a new environment.
It's about more than just getting your coffee.
It's far more than just words. It's about making genuine connections. Until next time.